I'm Shy Silverleaf, and welcome to part 3 of our little series on the flat circle working in Tunisian crochet. This time I'm going to show you how to work a flat circle with no twists. Okay? Now I'm going to assume that you've already watched parts 1 and 2 and mastered both the counterclockwise swirl and the clockwise swirl, because getting no swirl, beg your pardon, no swirl whatsoever is actually a combination of the other two. So once you have those skills tucked on your belt, let's be ready to begin. Okay, to begin the, we'll call it no swirl circle, what you're going to do is, in your preferred method, go ahead and pick up your 6 loops, work them off, like you've done for the previous 2 circles. Yarn over, go through 1, then yarn over, go through 2, go yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. Or excuse me, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way. Beg your pardon. Tighten this up. Tighten up your circle, and just a word of warning: if as you're working you find the center of your circle loosens up, just give the tail a tug and it'll tighten right back up. Okay, so now we're ready to go. And my favorite swirl to start with happens to be, come here you, the counterclockwise swirl. So I'm going to go ahead and start. It really doesn't matter which one you start. It's making sure that your first row is 1, like the counterclockwise swirl. Your second row is the clockwise swirl. Then counterclockwise, counterclockwise, back and forth until it's as big as you want. That's where the key lies, is rotating between the two. So now we're going to do, in the first one, back loop. Excuse me, I'm doing it again. Back vertical bar, front vertical bar, and put a stitch marker in the first one. Now, stitch marker placement in this one is also going to be very key. Since you're working with both of them, it's really hard to tell where your stitches are going to go, for the simple reason that in the other two you actually have your lovely line of V's to follow for your swirls, but when you're bouncing back and forth between the two, it's a lot harder to see both sets of V's running up along your wedge. So let's continue. That was 1. And I'm putting it in the first one, and this time I know I have it turned backwards. No, this time I definitely need it in the first one, because with the clockwise swirl, if you remember correctly, we were putting the stitches in the first one, and the counterclockwise swirl, we were putting them in the second one. So back, front, pin in the first one, work them off, make sure, and that would be the tail. Oh, no wonder it's awfully short. Tighten it up. And come on. Just the back. Front's trying to come with. Back. Front. Stitch marker in that first one. You know the drill by now. Oh, come on, just through 2, not 3. I beg your pardon. Ooh, gracious me. Back. Front. Marker in the first one. Work it off. Ooh, excuse me, I may have to wet my whistle here in a minute. Back. Front. Marker. Same tips and tricks as with the other two. Similar tips and tricks. Because remember, we're combining the two. Come on. Alright. And then the last one, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Tighten that down a little. Back. Front. Marker. Okay. Work this off. And now, for the fun. Here's where we change our tune. Instead, okay, so there are the next 2 stitches we're going to be working in our wedge. For this first part, we've been doing back, front, and if you'll remember, with the counterclockwise swirl, we worked the normal stitches first and then our increase. This time, we want to flip it and do the the clockwise, where we work the increase first, front, back, and then the normal stitches. So for this one, we're actually going to need 2 sets of markers. One to keep track of where the counterclockwise increases are going to be going up, and another set for the clockwise stitches going up. Now my first stitch of my counterclockwise round and the clockwise stitches are the exact same color. So to help differentiate the first stitch, I'm going to use this slip stitch marker and stick it right on the back side of the first one in the counterclockwise round. And we're going to pick a different color. Let's go with pink. And we're going to slide that with the rest of my others to put in the round I'm about to do. Excuse me. So now we want to do front. Remember, this is going to get quite jumbly and fiddly. Front, pull it aside, go in between. It'll go off right there. We go. Back. Okay, and see how it crossed? It twisted right there. That's exactly what we want. Okay, we're going to put this marker in the first bar of that one. Okay, and then our normal stitch, which in this case is simple stitch. Okay, work it off. And I'm going to do 2 rounds of each so you can really see it going. There we go. Okay. We're going to leave that first one down there because that's marking our counterclockwise round. Okay. Same tune. front, if it'll cooperate, front, back, see how it's twisting, normal, or simple, excuse me, mark it. Okay, now that we have two, we're going to go back to the first marker of our round and add to the back part of it our slip stitch marker, marking the counterclockwise. Beg your pardon, the clockwise. I'm doing it again. Shame, shame. Okay. Front, and you're going to get, if you thought one set of stitch markers was bad in the beginning, two sets is worse. Okay, so there's our little twist. Here's our one simple stitch for our clockwise twist. In goes the first joint in that first leg. And we failed to mark off, to return pass off the previous wedge. No wonder it's getting kind of tight here. So let's work all those off. Now it's cooperating with us. Give that a little tug. Give that a little tug. Through that on the back side. Pull that tight. Alright, front. I know it's a little hard to see where on earth things are going because of all the stitch markers, but it'll get easier as we grow it out. And a marker, and return pass off. Hang in there with me. My little samples trying to get in on the video. All right. Front. Back. Simple. Marker. Return pass. So I'm not quite as chatty this go around. Beg your pardon. I'm guessing you know the drill by now. Okay. Once again, front, back, simple, marker. Alright, now we have finished round 2, which is our clockwise round, and in our pattern that we are choosing to do, the odd rows are going to be the counterclockwise ones, the even ones are going to be the clockwise ones, and I know I have that straight. So, now we are back to counterclockwise, and we have 3 stitches to work in. So what we're going to do is we are going to work our simples first and then our increase. So we are going to simple 1, no stitch marker gets moved up here, 2, no stitch marker gets moved up here, and then it's back, front. Now that we've completed that, we go all the way down to our first set of stitch markers. Remember, we had the little blue slip stitch marker, and we're going to move that up in the second. Oh, my slip stitch marker is trying to catch. Out of the way. Into our second part of the increase, which is right here, so that we know that this is our counterclockwise round. I'm going to repeat that process all the way around. Okay, we're working our 2 simples first. 1, 2 simples first. Now, back, front for our increase. Go back down to our very first round, which is the orange ones. This is why I had you do them in different colors, so you can very easily distinguish at a glance which stitch is which. Work them off. Once again, 2 simples first, then back, front, go all the way down here, move the next stitch marker up into the second stitch, all the way around. Two simples, increase back, front, dig down, and they form a nice little circle, so just grab the one in the next one in the circle. And if you grab the wrong one, that's okay, we're done with that round anyways. Mark it, turn past them off, and sing it again. Two simples. 1, 2 simples. Back, front, stitch marker. And the way that you tell that you've finished this row, or excuse me, this round, is very simple. When you've moved this very last stitch marker from down here up here, then you're ready to start your clockwise round. Two, increase, oh come on, and move the last stitch marker up. If I'm going too fast, feel free to pause and back up any of my videos as many times as you need. Heaven knows, trying to learn what I was doing wrong with baking a pie crust, I lost count how many times I stopped the video of the chef I was watching and backed it up. It turned out I wasn't cutting my fat into my flour mixture fine enough. Okay. Now that we have finished our counterclockwise round, it's time to go back to our clockwise, which means increase first and then the stitches. Oh, let go of my yarn. So now we shove that to the side and we do front loop, we do You fight to find the back loop, apparently. So sorry, my dear husband, who is also a YouTuber, is doing his recordings as we speak, so you may hear him periodically in the background. Alright, but we'll pretend he's not there right now. Right now, we're going to move the green marker with the pink on it up. And this time we want to put it in the first leg, right beside that orange one. They're only going to be close together until we finish this round, and then this one will move up. Okay, and then this time we're going to do 3 simples. 1, 2, 3. A single simple right on top of our last marker. Work them off. If it picks up too much, I may have to start closing the door. All right. Doing it again. Front. Back. What is going on? Oh, I split a yarn in the return pass. Oh, hang on. Let me fix that. All right. Make sure your return pass is up and out of the way. Boop, boop, boop. Try not to lose your stitches. Okay. And in, and much better when you're not trying to split your return pass. Okay, and we're moving the green ones up, in my case, into the first ones. If it helps, oh no, we're just splitting stuff left and right. Okay, if it helps, put a little piece of paper here and write which color is for which row so you don't get them mixed up. 1, 2, 3, and work it off. And we're just going to leave 3 on since we're big enough now. Alright. Front. Back. See, that one was easy. It cooperated. Marker. And 3 simples. 1, 2, 3 simples. And I paused to look at the previous set of markers and made sure that my last simple stitch was over top of the marked stitch of my previous round. So basically I looked to make sure that this last simple stitch was right over top of my counterclockwise round. The marked stitch of my counterclockwise round. Alright. Front. Back. Alright, and just so you know, how I tell where I put my next increase even though there's no marker here, is it's in the stitch right beside the marked stitch of the previous round. And that actually, if you look at the stitch markers I haven't moved yet, like this one, you'll see it's right beside it, but it comes before in this case. After in this case, and in the next one, this one's going to come before this one. Hopefully I haven't thoroughly confused you. Okay, so first and then 3. 1, 2, 3. And once again, if you don't know which row you stopped on, look for your little increase V and count the number of stitches beside it. Correction, if it's twisted, you're going to count the number of stitches in front of it. If it is not twisted, they're, oh, here they are. Boop, boop. Here's the increase. If it's side by side like this, you're going to count the stitches in front of it. Just remember, we put this in the second leg and this in the first leg. So just these two go together, ignore them, and then count 1, 2. This was on the third row. Count those stitches, had 1. A little muddled today. Fix my yarn. All right, once again, front, back, 1, 2, 3. Uh-oh, I didn't move this stitch marker up. Well, let's do that. We need it in that. We want to do it in this one. Don't forget to move them up. If you're confused which ones to move up, I looked at this stitch first, make sure that it crossed. It did a little twist, and that was the one that I grabbed. If it's side by side, then you move it up to a side by side increase. And what I mean by side is, like I said in the previous ones, if you look at the increase, the clockwise has a little twist. They kind of overlap here at the bottom, whereas the counterclockwise, they sit side by side at the bottom. Don't know where that came from. All right. Front. Back. 1, 2, 3. Move this one up. Definitely, out of all 3 of these techniques, well, 4 techniques if you include my little, where'd he go? I had a textured one here to show you, but out of all 4, you definitely want to take this one and working in a circle in a textured stitch, nice and slow, until you really get the hang of it and really know what you're looking at. Because if you rush, you're going to mess something up and wonder what on earth happened. Okay, and we are back around to the first stitch of our current row. So now that we did the clockwise, we want to do the counter clockwise ones, which means this time we are going to simple 4 stitches. Yeah. Now at the beginning of the next, it may be a little bit of a pain to count. I've already lost track of where I was at. But remember, this lines up with the last stitch of the previous round, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and this stitch, if you run your finger down, will line up with your marker showing where you need to place this, which is why I had you leave the markers in. So this time we want to do back, I'm already getting myself mixed up, back then front, because they're side by side, and move your stitch marker complete with its little loop up into the second part of the stitch, work it off. I'm sure that rattling's driving you bonkers, but believe me, it's a huge help. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, back, front, move the stitch marker up into the second part of the increase, turn around and break it off. And hopefully I haven't got myself mixed up again. Oops, didn't clip that. Alright, and then 1, okay, that is correct. 2, 3, 4, back loop, front loop, and put the stitch marker in. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, back loop, front loop, One, 2, 3, 4, back loop, front loop, stitch marker up, and one more wedge to go on this round. Yay! Once you grow it out and you've done enough rounds in both the counterclockwise and the clockwise swirls, you'll find it's easy even if you're doing just one or the other or both for no swirl. 1, 2, 3, 4, back, front. Oh, he's so loud. Okay. Now that we've grown this out quite a bit, push these back and show you that using alternating counterclockwise and clockwise rows, it ends up nice and even, and there is no swirl whatsoever in this bad boy at all. Because swirls fun, both swirls are fun and everything, but sometimes you need just a plain ordinary circle to work off of. Alright, now I have shown you how to work counterclockwise and clockwise in this twice. I will work the last round of this, round 6, and I will be right back. Oh, no I won't. Let's try this again. I will work the last row, which will be clockwise going around, meaning the increase will be the twisted and clockwise, not the direction I'm working. And the bind off row is pretty much the same for either one of these, or you can pick a different stitch to do your bind off row. Just remember to put your increases where your increases should go. In this case, my last row will be clockwise, therefore the increases on my bind off row will be counterclockwise ones. Okay? So just keep up the good work. Have a lot of fun with this technique. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, follow me on Facebook. I am also Shy Silverleaf there. And join me for part 4 when we take a look at textured stitches and the fun that this is going to present to us. This is Shy Silverleaf, and I will see you in part 4 with Hook at the Ready.